Docent, Lesson C. Artists paint landscape. Slide 1. A landscape is a painting that shows the scenery around us. Artists may choose to paint the countryside, trees, lakes, mountains, rivers, fields. Sometimes the artist shows us people or animals or buildings in the landscape. When an artist paints a scene of a city, it's called a cityscape. When an artist paints the ocean, it's called a seascape. Artists choose viewpoints for landscapes. A bird's eye view means that the artist is looking down on a scene and will place the horizon up high. In a landscape, artists can tell us about the weather. They give us special feelings and suggest different moods. Artists may paint very realistically and show us exactly how a place looks. Some artists let the shapes and colors and lines of a scene give them ideas for an abstract landscape. Slide 2. Most landscapes have three parts. 1. The foreground represents the things that are closest to us. They're usually shown in the lower third of the painting. 2nd, the middle ground, which represents things farther away. They're shown higher up in the middle third of the painting. 3rd, the background represents things farthest away and higher in the upper third of the painting. View of Toledo by El Greco. The artist was named El Greco, which means the Greek. He was born on the Greek island of Crete. He painted Toledo, a very old city that is located on a high plateau in central Spain. Can you find the river? The old city wall? Can you find any people? Look carefully. Look at the sky. A storm is approaching. What main colors does El Greco use? How do the colors and all the strong, dark, and light values affect the mood of the work? Take a walk with your eyes in this painting, starting at the bottom and traveling upward to the distant city. La Grande Jatte by Georges Seurat. The artist Georges Seurat was a French artist who studied photography and the physics of light and color. He put the paint on the canvas in many tiny dots. That is why the painting looks grainy. Seurat invented this way of painting called pointillism because he was experimenting with color. He put dots of color very close together. He wanted your eyes to mix the colors when you looked at it from a distance. The original painting is very large, about 8 by 10 feet. We see 40 people in a park that faces the water. Most of the people are looking towards the water. Maybe they see a sailboat race. Do you think it is a noisy place? Perhaps there is some music playing. Do you find any other places where the artist repeated color white? This adds unity to the picture and leads our eyes around the rather complex composition. The artist used a lot of different greens and reddish-orange colors. Landscape with Brook by Paul Cézanne. Tulips in Holland by Claude Monet. Claude Monet was a French artist. He decided that only by painting outdoors could an artist paint a picture of the way things really look. Monet insisted that the artist should paint directly from nature, in front of whatever he was going to paint. His style was called Impressionism. Describe what you see in this landscape. Try squinting your eyes to make everything come into focus. What buildings do you see? What do you think the large areas of color in the foreground are? What clues tell us what country this is? It is Holland, and the windmill tells us so. Notice how the rows in the field of tulips lead our eyes far back into the space of this picture and lead us to the windmill. Notice how all the flowers blend into one another. There are no outlines. When Monet painted, he did not mix his colors first. Instead, he put dabs of yellow paint on the canvas, and next to them, he put dabs of blue. The viewer looks at the separate dabs, and from a distance, the colors seem to be blend into shimmering tones. This way of applying paint was typical of Impressionism. Landscape with Brook by Paul Cézanne. Paul Cézanne made many landscape paintings. He often painted people, but he took so long painting them that they began to move about, and he shouted at them to sit like an apple. This lovely landscape is quiet and peaceful. What colors do you see? Does it look cool and nice to take a walk there or even do some fishing? ETRETAT by INNESS. INNESS was one of the most important American landscape painters. He used America's beautiful scenery as his main subject. This painting is ETRETAT, a place he visited in France. Would this be a place that you would like to take a walk? We see some people walking along. The spot of red catches our eyes. We notice some farm animals grazing on the lush green grass. There seems to be a village at the base of the chalky white cliff. The cloud-laden sky provides soft, fluffy contrast for the sharp edge of the rock at the top of the cliff. Do the clouds seem to be moving? Fifth Avenue in Winter by CHILDE HASSAM. CHILDE HASSAM was from Boston. He studied art in Paris for 3 years and learned Impressionism. This is a cityscape, as he painted a city with buildings, the street, sidewalk, carriages, and pedestrians. It is an icy cold winter. Perhaps the artist was in the second or third floor of a comfortable, warm building looking down. This is called a bird's eye view. He painted this cityscape before we had automobiles. In the background, we see more buildings. Hassam used mostly dark neutral colors against the white of the snow. In this manner, the figures and such stand out sharply in contrast. Let's take together a quiz. What is pointillism? Pointillism is a technique invented by George Seurat. By using tiny dots of paint applied close together, to form an image. What are the three parts of the painting? The three parts of the painting are foreground, middle ground, and background. What is a cityscape? A cityscape is a landscape that depicts the city. What is a bird's eye view? A bird's eye view is a landscape view from above. Today's art project is waterfall landscape. We will draw and color a landscape with mountains, trees, and waterfalls. Please follow the video. The link was given by your teacher. Do not forget to color your landscape. You may use watercolors, other paints, markers, or crayons.